So tonight's talk is going to almost be like an extension of part of last week's question and answer. Miss Macy asked me about change, and I talked a little bit about it, and I thought that's appropriate because we're going through a big change right now in the dojo, moving to the new location, and it's very exciting. And I mean that because I have a very powerful attitude about change and a very positive attitude in general. Most people in the situation that we are in with the dojo moving would be going insane. And I know this because it is the closest to going insane that I've been in many years. There's a lot of stuff happening. There is so much that could be completely stressing me out, but I meditate and I hit stuff all day long, so I'm good to go. But it's complicated. There's so many things to do, and to be honest, Catherine is doing almost all of it. So I just keep remembering stuff and, allowing myself to worry about it every once in a while, and then I talk to her and she's like, "Yes, sir, I'm taking care of it." And I go, "Okay, good." But there is a lot of change that is good about this move. It's a bigger space. It's a beautiful dojo. We're going to have a drinking fountain so we can stop wasting plastic water bottles. Several of you have complained about that, and I'm all about it. We're going to have 2 bathrooms, which is going to be just miraculous. No more lines waiting. I had a student before this last class go up 3 separate times to try to get in the bathroom, and he kept missing it. Somebody else kept jumping in front of him. So now you're just going to be able to sail right into the bathroom. We're going to have 2 areas of mats. We're going to have a second level of mats. It's awesome. There's going to be a bigger place to watch class from up top. You're going to have like the God's eye view, the bird's eye view, but you're going to be kind of like a kung fu deity up there, just like perched, and you get to see all of this. It's like Enter the Dragon. It's going to be sweet. And all that is awesome, and some people are going to go in there and think like, "Yeah, I like the other place better because the fountain was over here instead of over there." But for the most part, everyone's going to love it. The only part I don't like about it is all of the change in the dojo's bank account. This is expensive, so you guys better appreciate it. It is a nice looking school, and it looks like it was very expensive because it was. But I want to talk about change in a little bit more in-depth way than we did last week, because there's more to be said. In fact, when I finished talking about it, I thought, I forgot about the most important quote about change that I've ever heard that I love, which is, "You've got to be anchored in that which is changeless." And I don't know who said this first. I heard it first from Sifu Brown. And I think that it is brilliant advice for dealing with change, because all of life and all of existence, the whole universe, is change. It is in flux. And it is a necessary thing to recognize that change is going to happen, and it is necessary. And there are so many, big levels that you can look at change on, people dying and dealing with that. How do we deal with death? I have a student who comes in during the morning who has just had his mom die within the last month, and it comes in and is really dealing with it in a very powerful, positive way. And that's not the way that most of us deal with death. Most of us are deathly afraid of death, of our own death and the people in our lives, and that's normal. And then there are ways that the death of a loved one can just drag us down and keep us in that place for a long, long time. And there are ways that we can look at it in a different way and move forward positively and powerfully in our own lives. So that's something that I'm not going to talk much about because I already kind of did it. There are very small changes, like they don't sell the kind of almond milk that I like at the store anymore, and some people that could just ruin their whole week. Like I wake up and I don't have. It could ruin your whole year. I was used to this kind of almond milk, and now I got to drink this other stuff that just doesn't taste as good. Or I have to spend 50 cents more on it, or whatever. It's in a different. I went to the store on Monday, and they moved the almond milk to another cooler, like 1 cooler away, and it completely threw me off. I didn't know where anything was. up was down and left was right, and my almond milk was in a different cooler, and I had to ask somebody. And he points to it. He says, it's right over there. And I say, oh, right next to where I was looking. But, if you've been going to this cooler to get your almond milk for 2 years, and they move it right next door, they may as well have just moved it to Africa. Like, it's completely different. And it's so funny how these little things can have such an effect on us. You take the moving of the dojo. It is literally a 2-minute drive down the road. But I know that it is going to kill so many people to have to find the new place, and to, I've got to turn right on Santa Monica instead of left on Santa Monica. And well, at night the traffic gets really bad, and it does. And you might not be able to drive on Santa Monica Boulevard. You might have to go 1 block this way to avoid the traffic. And it is, it's hilarious, and we have to laugh at ourselves for this, because if we don't laugh at ourselves, we're going to cry. And it's important to laugh at yourself in general. But when these little things throw us off, or these big things throw us off, we have to come back to what is changeless. And so you can think of this on a spiritual level. What is changeless about, my beliefs? It's God, it's the divine, it's the universe, it's whatever it is that is changeless about my experience in life. And I like to think of my martial arts practice, even though my martial arts practice changes, as it must over time as I get older and I can't kick as high without hurting myself, or I can't ogoshi a 200-pound person like I used to, and things have to change. I have to make adjustments to my technique or do different drills in a different way. But the fact that I practice every day will never change. And my dream for my own death is to die teaching martial arts or practicing martial arts. And it's going to happen because I'm going to be here all day long, unless it gets me in my sleep, which I don't want. I want somebody to choke me out. But you can look at things on different levels as well. So I like I've prepared this analogy, this metaphor of the ocean as a way of looking at change. So as you go down to the beach and you see the ocean, you see the waves lapping up or crashing onto the sand. And as you kind of walk into the first little bit of the ocean, it's nice. It's just like the water is coming up and just licking your toes. And then you wade a little bit further in, and now you're right in this danger zone where the water can come in and crash pretty hard and toss you and tweak your shoulder like it did to me a couple years ago. And that right there is the area of the ocean, which is how most of us experience pain. No, it's how most of us experience. I always experience pain when I go in the ocean because it's way too cold for me. I hate going in the ocean. It's how most of us experience change. Is that first part where it's kind of crashing on you, and it seems violent and scary, and we don't like it, and we're being tossed about by the waves. But if you continue to wade a little bit further into it, you'll notice how the waves start to even out, and it's just like this really nice kind of a rocking feeling. It's like when you're on a boat out in the ocean and everything's smooth. It's nice. And that is what awaits you when you embrace change, when you just go a little bit further out into the waters of whatever is in flux in your life and you accept it. It starts to feel nice. It's the kind of live energy that is necessary in life to keep us engaged, to keep us excited. We don't want things to be totally stagnant where we're just on the beach. With the beach without the ocean is basically just the desert. And nobody wants to just be stuck there out on the sand with nothing going on. You need the ocean there. It's more exciting. And it's just like time. if you are in these initial stages of change and you feel like you're being rocked by it, just give it a little bit more time and wade further into the ocean and recognize that this is okay. Like, I can actually handle this, and it's nice. It's nice to have a little bit of a rocking motion. It's nice to have a little bit of up and down. And you still should be careful, because if you stray too far in one direction or the other, the riptide's going to take you and just shoot you right out into the ocean, and then you drown. So you can't let change just suck you in and take you under. You've got to be able to stay afloat. And one way that you can do that, this is further than I thought this analogy through, but like when I get in the water, I don't go further than where my toes can still touch the ground. My head might be like right up here, but I still got something underneath me. And I know that I'm okay as long as I can touch the ground. The sharks probably are not going to come get me. The water's not going to suck me under. I'm not going to die that day because I got to save it for the mats. But think of it as like if you're out on a boat, and if you're there and you just go to sleep and let the boat drift wherever it goes, you're going to wake up in a totally different place, and that can be dangerous. Your boat can drift into rocks, your boat can drift down to Mexico, and you'll be in international waters, and that's scary. So you drop your anchor. And you don't drop the anchor. Some people who have not been on a boat before don't understand how the anchor works. You don't just drop the anchor into the water and hope that does something. You have to drop the anchor way down, all the way through the waters of change into the dirt, the sand, the something hard, something rocky, all the way down. And you might actually drag on the ground a little bit, and then it's going to find purchase on something solid. So even though you're out on the ocean and the waves are coming and the tide is taking you, the current is taking you, if you drop anchor down deep enough, you will find something that is solid, something that is changeless. And I also like thinking about the ocean as like, if you look in very close, you'll see the waves, you'll see the shoreline, you'll see the little stuff swimming about in the ocean. But if you zoom way out, the shape of the ocean doesn't change that much. And climate change and global warming, and we're all going to end up in water world soon. But over a long period of time, if you look at the ocean, it hasn't changed very much. It's pretty much as it is. And this is kind of like the idea of chaos theory, where if you look very close on a very small scale, everything seems to be craziness. It's chaos. And when you zoom all the way out, you see the order in things. You can see even this thing that is very much alive and undulating and is changing all the time, like the ocean. If you zoom way out, you can see that there is order, that there are patterns in the tide, there are patterns in the current of the ocean. There are things that you can predict pretty accurately and reasonably. And it's like how the weather system works. If you are just anywhere other than LA, the weather will come in and it will catch you off guard sometimes. One day it's rainy, the next day it's windy, the next day it's snowing, the next day the sun can be out. And this is what it was like growing up in Michigan all the time. Yet if you zoom out far enough and you can see the weather pattern going around, you can tell when the storms are coming, you can tell when they're going, you can tell what the temperature is going to be like with a reasonable amount of certainty, because you can see this global system of weather. And this ability to deal with change effectively comes down to that, the ability to be anchored in that which is changeless and to zoom out and see the overarching patterns in our life and to see where we've come from and to see where we're going. It is kind of difficult to do. When you just look at it on a day-to-day level, things can change quite a bit. But when you zoom out far enough, you see like, okay, I've been here before. And I might be a little bit older and hopefully a little bit wiser, but I've been in this situation. Our life goes like this, and this is a cycle. And as soon as I've been on one of these, and I go down here, and then I've been up to here again, I know, well, I've been here before. And so I actually know that it's going to go down here. Well, I've been here before too, so I know that it's going to go up here. And there's something that is comforting in that. And this too shall pass. Like wherever you are is not going to be like this forever. Something will change. And it's almost like the fact that change is happening is also changeless. That is something that you can be anchored in, is knowing that this is going to change. And I can be okay with that. So I scribbled down a couple of things. I hope that I think I said it all already. Yep, that's it. So change can be fun, but change can be dangerous and scary. And it's like if you're out on the ocean and you're just fighting to stay afloat, and you're right there where the waves are crashing on you, it can be pretty rough. But if you're on a surfboard, then it can be kind of fun, and like you want those waves to come, and you want to be able to enjoy it and have that energy there. So it's all a matter of perception. I can zoom out far and I can recognize what's happening, and I can either just be in the ocean being tossed around, or I can be on a surfboard and really enjoy it, enjoy that change. So for a lot of us that have this kind of attitude, change is actually really enjoyable. I love change. I love the fact that we're changing the dojo. I don't love the fact that I'm going to have to drive to get there instead of walking now, but I love that things are going to be in a little bit of a different place. One of my favorite things about change is that it causes us to be mindful. And you can think of your injuries as similar to this. When you're practicing in the dojo, nobody likes to be injured. Nobody likes to have an injury, and trying to do things is tougher. But it opens up something new for you to look at. It places you in a new place with your consciousness and your awareness. It's like, oh, I banged up my elbow walking down the street like a genius, and so now I have to be aware of this. I can't throw my punches the same way that I did yesterday. I have to recognize it. I can't, shift my weight in Tai Chi the same way on this knee because I've got some kind of something going on there. So it's like this opportunity to be more in the moment, to be more present. And if you can have fun with change in this way, injury is a great example. If you can be injured and come to class and have fun with it and recognize, okay, I can't do this, so I'm going to change it and I'm going to do this other technique. Or I can't do the technique in this way, I've got to change it and make this modification. And recognize, like, this is a fun thing for me to be more creative with my practice and to be more in the moment. Then if you can do it in practice, you can do it anywhere. And this is really what we endeavor to do, is to be able to have this kind of attitude that we take towards change in our practice out into the rest of life. When you can be anchored in that which is changeless in our practice, that's like, I know I'm going to show up, it's going to happen. What I do when I get there, who knows? And some days, some nights you'll come into class and it's completely the opposite of what you expected, but you're here, and that's great. And sometimes you might not even be able to get to the dojo. You're deathly ill and you can't come for weeks at a time. Okay, but you can still practice. Maybe it's all I can do is breathe. Okay. And the breath on the one hand is always in change, it's always in flux, but the breath is still there. And you know that you are always going to have the breath as long as you need it to be your anchor in the moment, to be the anchor for your mind, the anchor for your consciousness, because the second that you don't need your breath anymore, you're done, and you don't have to worry about anything at all. As soon as you're done breathing, your life is finished, so you don't need the breath. But as long as you're alive, you've got the breath. Even if you're on a machine, you've got breath coming in and leaving. It's happening. So I love thinking about that. This is very gruesome, but like if I became paraplegic, I can't do anything, all I can do is breathe, like I can still meditate, I can still breathe, I can still place my consciousness on the breath. And in the absolute worst circumstances that you can imagine for you in your life, there's still something that you've got. And I might not always be able to do spinning side kicks, but I can breathe. And so I put a lot into that. And I spend a lot of my time focusing on my breath and getting my mind to be connected to that. Because if I can find joy, or I can find solace, or I can find peace in the breath, that's something that I take with me anywhere, no matter what the situation is. I can be incredibly stressed. I can have people trying to beat me up verbally, emotionally, or even literally, physically trying to beat me up. I still have the breath. It's there for me. And you want to find as many of these things as possible in your life. And you might have to create something, or you might have to just really zoom out to find something that is truly changeless, something that is bigger than yourself, something that is powerful, something that you can take with you wherever you go. And this is the way to deal with change. Change is going to happen. You can't stop it. What you can do is you can play with it, or you can anchor yourself. And when you are anchored, you can still play with it and then come back to your anchor and always be safe. So that's what we're going to practice now, the breath. So when we meditate, you'll feel the change of the breath coming in and the change of the breath going out. You'll feel sometimes your breath is shorter, sometimes your breath is deeper. You'll find that your mind is always in flux. There are thoughts coming in and leaving. But just to go back to the sensation of the breath and to allow yourself to really sink down into that sensation like an anchor dropping to the ocean floor, and allow yourself to be totally at home in that sensation. And when your mind wanders, you just bring it right back to that same anchor. Sit comfortable.